I found out my fiancé has been secretly recording our arguments. When I confronted him, his explanation changed everything. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who snoops through their partner's phone. But last week I noticed something strange every time we had an argument. No matter how minor, Mark would tap his watch twice before responding to me. At first, I thought it was just a nervous habit. But after our third disagreement about wedding planning, I realized he was doing it deliberately, like activating something when he went to shower that evening. Curiosity got the better of me. I checked his smartwatch, which was charging on the nightstand. There it was bare to recording up with dozens of files, all labeled with dates and brief descriptions. Kitchen amusement, budget discussion, mom issue. My stomach dropped. He'd been secretly recording our arguments for months. I felt violated, angry, and confused. Was he collecting evidence against me? Was our entire relationship just ammunition for him? When Mark came out of the shower, I was sitting on the bed with his watch in my hand, tears streaming down my face. "Why have you been recording me without my consent?" I asked, my voice shaking. The color drained from his face. Instead, he sat down heavily on the edge of the bed and buried his face in his hands. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I should have told you." What he said next completely changed my understanding of our relationship. Mark explained that he grew up in a household where his father would regularly gaslight his mother during arguments, denying things he'd said just hours earlier, twisting her words until she questioned her own sanity. His mother eventually became so unsure of her own memories that she stopped challenging his father altogether when we started getting serious. "I noticed something about myself," Mark said, his voice cracking. "During arguments, I would sometimes genuinely not remember saying certain things you claimed I had said. My first instinct was always to deny it, to say you were misremembering." He showed me his therapy notes from the past year. Part sessions focused on his fear of unconsciously becoming like his father. His therapist had suggested temporarily recording arguments as a tool not to use against me, but to use against his own faulty memory and learned behaviors. "Every time we disagree, I listen to the recordings afterward alone," he explained. "Not to prove you wrong, but to check myself, to make sure I am not twisting things or forgetting what I actually said." He pulled up one recording from 2 months ago and played a clip where I had asked him to call the florist, and he had agreed. Later in the same recording, he denied ever having that conversation. "When I listened to this afterward, I was shocked," he said. "In the moment, I would have sworn on anything that you never asked me about the florist. My brain just deleted it. That's when I realized how much work I have to do." I sat in silence, processing this revelation. Mark had been recording our arguments not to manipulate me, but to stop himself from manipulating me unconsciously. He was actively working to break a cycle of toxic behavior he'd witnessed his entire childhood. "I should have told you," he said again. I was ashamed." How do you tell someone you love that you don't trust your own mind, that you were terrified of becoming the monster who destroyed your mother? That night we talked for hours. Mark showed me all the recordings, the notes he'd made afterward, acknowledging his mistakes, the apologies he had planned. He'd been working with his therapist to develop healthier communication strategies, using the recordings as a temporary crutch while he unlearned decades of witnessed behavior. The next day we deleted all the recordings together. Instead, we agreed on a new system: Parrot. When either of us feels misunderstood or that the other is misremembering, we pause the conversation and write down what we each hearing. No secret recordings, just open acknowledgement that memory is fallible and communication is hard. Mark has continued his therapy, and I've started going with him to some sessions. I've learned that healing isn't always straightforward or comfortable. Sometimes it looks like a secret recording app and a double tap on a watch. Sometimes it looks like someone fighting against their own mind to be better for you. Our wedding is in 3 months. We still argue sometimes about centerpieces and guest lists. But now when Mark taps his watch, it's to set a timer, parent our agreed upon signal to pause, breathe, and remember that we're on the same team, working against patterns, not each other.